infantry division. It's an ugly planet, a bug planet, a planet hostile to us.
The galaxy is a diverse place filled with a multitude of competing species, competing goals, and competing ideas. But wouldn't it all be better if everyone followed one set of goals, one set of ideas, and one will? With the Hive Mind build, you get to implement just that across the galaxy. Unity on a scale hitherto unseen. With a Hive Mind, we can get pop growth completely crazy. It's going to be scaling like you really have not seen well into the mid and late game and beyond that. And as pops are the most important resource in Stellaris, we're going to be able to convert all of that growth into a massive and thriving economy. This is a build that has been requested quite a lot from this channel, and I have not delivered a Hive Mind build until today. So without any further ado, let's dive in and find out what on earth is going on. Here is the Great Shroom Collective. Now, the first thing you'll probably notice is that a lot of the traits, if we dive straight into traits, are either from the Stellaris Lem update or from the Aquatics pack. What have we got and what's going on? First off, we have budding. Now, budding is going to be very useful and actually a lot better than getting rapid breeders, because budding will be adding pop growth based on the number of pops we already have on our planet as organic pop assembly. With a Hive Mind, we also have access to the spawning vats, so we'll be getting jobs that produce 2 monthly organic pop assembly right from the very start, and budding will assist with that. Aquatic, for only a single point, is going to boost our food, energy, and mineral output on our homeworld and our 2 guaranteed habitable worlds, because we will start with Ocean World, and that means we will have some extra bonuses there. In addition, the habitability bonus is going to mean that our starting planets start with 100% habitability for us. Yes, we may have some issues later on with housing and habitability on non-wet worlds, but by that point we should just be able to modify the aquatic trait away from species that don't need it. Next is something a little funny, phototrophic. Normally I wouldn't recommend taking this one, but with a Hive Mind build we're going to have a phenomenal number of pops and therefore a phenomenal food upkeep. At the start of the game, replacing 50% of our food upkeep with energy upkeep will mean that we can keep up with the market and our star bases for our food production rather than needing farmer jobs. Because if you've watched any other videos on this channel, you'll know that farmers are awful. Finally, while it still has its time in the light, we will be taking the unruly trait because at the moment we do still have administrative capacity. We can completely offset Empire Sprawl. Prosperous Unification will give us 4 additional pops at the start, 2 more districts, and very importantly, for the first 20 years we will get a lovely bonus to our capital world. And if you're enjoying this video, please unify that like button. Looking over at our civics, we are going to be taking Ascetic. It is a no-brainer as a Hive Mind to take that one. And then we're going to go for Natural Neural Network because we really want that +1 research alternatives. It's going to make finding the right technologies. I'm looking at you, Moat Technologies, and the Alloy Foundry upgrades. We're going to need those as soon as we can, and research alternatives is going to help us beeline in that direction. Being a Gestalt consciousness means our pops will not be affected by happiness, and we'll get to use the no retreat war doctrine if we want to. Additionally, our war exhaustion gain is reduced by a whopping 20%. We'll be getting +1 influence and some extra corruption. The influence is very nice, and when you go to war, reducing war exhaustion gain, in addition to the technologies, and if you take adaptability or unyielding, you're going to get some massive reductions. No one is going to be able to force you to peace out. Hive Mind gives us a +25% pop growth modifier, as well as -25% to our Empire Sprawl. Those 2 bonuses are really, really good. And moving forwards into patch 3.3, when we no longer have administrative capacity, I can't remember if they're removing this Empire Sprawl modifier, but if they're not, this makes Hive Minds very, very good to combat the new system. At the start of the game, you are going to want to do all of the normal things like upgrading your ships to have nothing on them to get extra alloys, and then probably decommissioning them. as well as setting your diplomatic stance to isolationist for that extra unity and administrative capacity. You're also probably going to want to buy a little bit of food every month at the start of the game. That's going to reduce the amount of time it takes to build your first colony ship. As that colony ship is going to cost 500 food and 200 alloys, you should be able to build it in the first 4 or 5 months. On your homeworld, I'd probably recommend starting by building a generator district, followed by a mining district. You're going to want to boost your raw resource production. Make sure to grab the guaranteed habitable worlds around your capital as soon as possible. In order to do that, it can be a very good idea to buy extra alloys. If you buy up to 13 per month, that monthly cost is not going to be going up, and that way you can start building your second colony ship within the first 2 years. As far as traditions go, it is very important you take synchronicity to start with and then take instinctive synchronization. That way our synapse drones will be producing 2 amenities, and that means we can pretty much do away with maintenance drones at the start of the game. For instance, our capital here has absolutely no maintenance drones, yet still has positive amenities. Next, with traditions, I'd recommend switching out of synchronicity and going down something like prosperity, taking the first effect prefabricated buildings just to reduce the building and district cost and increase the speed at which they're built on all of your worlds. You should also build a couple of research labs on your capital now that you've increased the number of mining and energy districts. And when it comes to your colonies, the first building you want to put up is a spawning pool on every colony. That's going to start increasing our pop assembly speed. And then we get something rather special, and that is the fact that hive minds can build research labs as soon as they colonize the planet. Of the 2 starting worlds, I would recommend you take the smaller of the 2, in this case I have a size 13 world, and make that into a tech world right away. Start putting research labs down here rather than filling up your capital. You should also take capacity subsidies as soon as you can. That 50% bonus to tech drone outputs is absolutely fantastic. Continuing to increase the number of mining districts on your capital over the next 5 to 10 years will be very useful. You should also try to get the mineral purification plants. That's going to increase the output of all of your miners on your capital by 1. And then on the larger of the 2 guaranteed habitable worlds, you'll want to throw down an alloy foundry and start building up some industrial districts, as this is going to be your main alloy producing world. Once you complete prosperity, you'll get some great bonuses to your stability and resources from jobs across all of your planets, and you'll also be able to take an Ascension perk. I would actually recommend taking One Vision first at this point, as that's going to reduce your pop amenities usage and means that the instinctive synchronization will still be effective and will be very useful in not needing any more maintenance drones across your worlds. For instance, on our capital, we have 42 pops and not a single maintenance drone. I've also started expanding the number of star bases I have, making sure to put solar panels and hydroponics bays on them. I have gone over my starbase cap. I'm currently at 5/3, and I'm going to continue building starbases until I get to about 3 to 4 over that cap. That's about the effective limit where you don't want to keep going. But until we go that high, we are going to be getting some fantastic use economically from having these solar panels and hydroponics bays. On my capital, I no longer have a single agriculture district in 2213, and I am doing absolutely fine for food. When you get the option to take mining subsidies around 2215 to 2220 if you're lucky, I would actually recommend you take this edict and then go over your edict capacity and increase your empire sprawl. The sprawl impact, due to the fact you're a hive mind, should be rather limited. Here I am at about 20 over my admin capacity, and yet I'm only getting plus 5% from technology and plus 8% to tradition adoption cost, which is completely manageable. You should be able to get lots and lots of technology output from this first tech world of yours by only building hive districts and research labs, and if you start running into any amenities issues, it's probably a good idea to throw out a synaptic node like I've done here on my capital, as well as making sure that my capital is still a resource focused world. Because I have lots of synaptic drones, it then makes artifact relays massively powerful on my capital. It's going to increase the output of all of my menial drones, which I have very many of, and it will boost the stability on my capital by a lot. At the moment I'm getting plus 12 from that artifact relays. By 2230 you should be able to put out a reasonable fleet of around 10, possibly 15k worth of ships, destroyers, maybe cruisers if you've been quite lucky. But the main power of this build is not 2230. You simply want to survive at 2230, make sure that whatever happens your fleet is able to defend your planets from bigger, badder threats at 2230, like possibly a Void Dweller rush. The main strength of this build is the phenomenal pop growth you're going to be getting. I currently have 108 shrooms across my empire, and if I continue to survive past 2230, I'm going to start colonizing more and more worlds around me and reaping the benefits of the very rapid economic growth of this build. It's also important to know when you take the engineered evolution, which is the only ascension path you can take, you'll get access to clone vats. Now if you build the clone vats, that will stack with your spawning pools and with your budding so that you can get some really fantastic pop assembly progress. I'm currently getting plus 5 here on this planet because I've got quite a few pops, I've got the job, and I have the building. Make sure to set your default rights to slaves. If you go out and conquer any biological pops, any non-hive mind pops, you'll want to make sure that you can actually use them rather than just purging them, and by setting them to slaves you can of course turn them into food, turn them into juicy livestock. If you also get the Evolutionary Mastery Ascension perk, that means you completed the Biological Ascension path, you'll then get the option to set rights of biological pops to assimilation, and that means you can subsume them into your collective. Hive minds also have access to Hive worlds, which are, for them, the best planet type going. You'll need to get climate restoration technology in order to be able to unlock this Ascension perk, but once you do, you can terraform any planet into a Hive world. I'd recommend starting with something like your Forge world because, well, what do Hive worlds do for us? Just like a Gaia world, they're going to give us a plus 10% resources from job output, as well as giving all of our Hive mind pops 100% habitability on this Hive world. They, in addition, unlock all of the building slots on the planet and give you +1 spawning drone jobs. There's a little hidden benefit not mentioned here, and that is the fact that for any non-hive mind pops, habitability on this planet is 0. And that means your planets are massively unattractive to any neighbours wishing to conquer you, unless those neighbours are hive mind as well. Also, your regular resource districts are not tied to planetary features. And talking about conquering hive mind neighbours, your first and best target for conquest should in fact be regular squishy biological hive mind pops. As once you conquer a hive mind empire's worlds, you will immediately be able to put them to work for you and get all of the production from them. With hive mind, it is very easy to get early technology output and then push that into alloy output. You're going to find yourself somewhat behind a Void Dweller build and possibly some other necrophages around you. However, the ability that you will have to scale cannot be understated. The only issue you're going to come up with is in trying to subsume machine Gestalt consciousness around you, as they are not a tasty type of pop for your empire, and there's basically nothing you can do with them. If you'd like to know more about a meta machine build to counter this type of empire, click the video on screen now.